Alright, ladies and gentlefish, what's going on? It's the Croc here to bring you a Pokemon Stadium 2 Wi-Fi battle versus Mark Williams. Alright, he's going to lead here with Dinner Time, and I am going to be leading here with Phoenix. I do figure that Phoenix is a strong lead, but at the same token, Alakazam is definitely not the kind of thing that you want to see, when you're the first one represented in the trial here. So I definitely need to get out of here. I'm very, very scared of the fire move, but I see most of my opponents, other than Z's, like to open their moves. So I see that he lacks a fire move, and I'm going to take that advantage to go ahead and put spikes up and just take the Thunder Wave. Now, to be completely honest with you guys, I debated right here just exploding and just wiping out this Alakazam completely, just blowing it to complete smithereens and being done with it. But Phoenix, as you'll see, is just a great physical wall. I mean, I can understand why A-Star absolutely loves Fortress. So I'm going to get fully paralyzed here, and I was actually going to explode. So, I guess that works. I don't lose Phoenix that early, and I don't deal any damage to this thing, obviously. So I'm just going to take the opportunity to put up the Reflect here. I'm sure that it mattered exploding on Golem, but I'm kind of glad because I really did misclick there. Part of me, like I said, wanted to boom straight away, but Golem's just standing there looking all awesome, ready to come out and block that explosion with its big old boulder ass. So I want to bring in Lamore, and he takes this opportunity to get Zapdos in, which is a perfect fight for Lamore. But I'm just going to bring in a lot of heart because my Country Bumpkin can take any special attack that Big Bird wants to throw at it while it flops its egg around and dances the Happy Feet dance. I figure Ice Beam is pretty good on anything on his team. I can poison anything, and Vaporeon's going to be his choice, but I'm actually going to get full para, and this Vaporeon's going to have to step on spikes and start setting up growth. He is wasting absolutely no time, and I'm not going to waste any time either. I'm going to put the Toxic down, and I'm going to look to go to my Phaser, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this opportunity to bring in Darien once again as he growths up for the second time. By putting Toxic on Vaporeon, I'm putting pressure on my opponent, basically to the point that I want him to set up, but it has to be done a little bit more carefully than normal. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is Vaporeon is going to die. So he goes for a Surf here. It doesn't do jack all because I phased him and he's back down to 0 special. I figured Light Screen is the best thing to do right now. To be completely honest with you, I haven't seen any Vaporeons carry Ice Beam with growth, which I think is kind of strange. I kind of like it for Dragonite and Exeggutor, but haven't seen it yet. So he's like, well, I growth past Alakazam, and I'm like, you passed nothing to Alakazam, but I'll be more than happy to fight it with my Light Screen up. And I figure he's just going to go straight for the Psychic, and that's fine by me because I'd like to paralyze Zam, and Body Slam does a really nice chunk, even factoring his leftovers that he doesn't have because he has the Miracle Berry, which I don't find out yet. So he's all like, look at my spoons, and I'm going to continually Body Slam this thing, continuing the onslaught of this Alakazam because it is a pretty decent threat. I was kind of interested later in the match. You're going to see he's going to take the opportunity to get Heracross in, and Heracross takes Body Slam quite nicely, even factoring Darien's wonderful base attack stat. Now, I make a really big blunder, and I kind of make a stupid, and I forgot this thing has counter. So I'm back up to half after my leftovers, but it still wasn't a very pleasant experience for me. I figured that counter pretty much has been out of date just because the cursed counter thing. It's been done before and people started running cursed Scarm, so no one runs cursed Heracross. So Fortress can take everything from Heracross, and once again, I debate exploding, but I don't. I just come in, set up Reflect, and get out. I wondered for the longest, seeing this Golem twice already, if it does have a fire move. And whether it does or not, I'm not going to stick around to find out. I'm just going to go straight to Lamore, Lemore can take it, but Lemore can also take Rock Slide and Earthquake with the Reflect Up. And it's going to give me an opportunity to do one of my favorite plays in all of Gold, Silver, Crystal, and that is set up a substitute as a Zapdos comes in on me. And you will see it's actually quite impressive how much Ice Beam does to Zapdos. Yes, I know what you're thinking. It is stabbed. It is super effective. Yes, I know this. But Lapras is just well-rounded all around. It just has such great stats, and it is definitely probably my favorite OU Pokemon that's not OU. You can see the Ice Beam takes him way below half, and, you know, I kind of feel pretty confident with the exchange here. I believe it was a couple battles ago. I had a Zapdos Lapras fight, and I did win the fight. And I did lose my Lapras after that, but it took down Zapdos. Zapdos being a major threat and a major pain in the ass throughout any match you will ever face in the Gold Super Crystal metagame, just because of its base stats and its rest talking and shenanigans. So, now we have a Blissey on a Golem, and normally the Golem can just pretty much sit on Blissey and end it and just roll all over it with its big boulder ass, but instead of going straight for the explosion, he's just going to Rock Slide, I guess trying to work with the Para-Fusion here, or Para-Flinch rather. I try to go for an Ice Beam, but of course I'm fully parried because the Hax Gods despise my face and they despise my happy dance, which means I'm pretty much going to have to come up with a completely different idea and strategy at this point. So I'm just going to go straight back to Phoenix as he goes for the Earthquake. And that does a lot. Now, looking at the amount of damage, I'm thinking I could set up Reflect again, but you can see I can't take that. So the first score goes to Mr. Mark Williams in the left-hand corner. And my Fortress is going to go down. So there's my physical wall out of the picture, out of the game. And that's going to let me bring in Lemore once again. Now, Lemore can fight Zapdos. It can fight Vaporeon to an extent. I 3-hit KO with Thunder and Spikes. But it's really not as easy to get rid of this Vaporeon. Vaporeon is definitely going to be another pain and thorn in my side through the remainder of this game. But Heracross is going to come in. Now, I figure I can take anything from Heracross with Reflect and Sub and my massive 116, 115 base substitutes. I can take Mega Horn, which is going to miss. Take this opportunity to go for Surf, and it goes to 81 after leftovers. And another Surf will easily KO. So whether Mega Horn hits or not, instead of him just going straight for the Rest Talk, if he's carrying that sort of thing, I've seen Counter and I've seen Mega Horn. So it's either Earthquake or Rest Talk or Earthquake and Rest or some kind of combination of those following moves. I figure Heracross would be what he would want to sack at this point. And the pressure I have at this point, just forcing the switch and not letting him know kind of what direction I'm going to go is just great. But he gets a crit on the sub, so it does matter. It does break my sub because of the stupid critical hit. Not sure if it's mattered for the sub. But I get to take Heracross out in exchange. So I'll take the trade any day of the week. And here comes Zapdos at 214. I'm facing with a 313 Lapras. I feel to an extent like I can take this. I could take one and Ice Beam away and it would end the game. But I kind of am having second thoughts about doing that. I think what I'm going to do instead is switch out. Because Blissey can take everything and anything and everything from Zapdos. That's why, like 12 matches ago, you know, when I started this, it's funny, I've only been doing Stadium 2 Wi-Fi for like 3.5 weeks. And in my first Battle vs. Use, I brought a Cursing Zapdos. And I kind of liked the idea. Trying to deal with Blissey and stuff, but it just kind of didn't work out in my favor. So, you know, I guess it goes that way sometimes. So, this wonderful country bumpkin of mine is going to come in, and unfortunately she's missing her video camera. She put an egg in her pocket instead. And now I'm going to be facing down Executor. Now, I outplay him the first turn. He goes straight for the Psychic, predicting my Gengar, which is a great play. He's predicting Gar. He doesn't have spikes, so Gengar might live with like 2 or 3 HP because, again, everything's max bolt. I figured he'd want to go straight for the explosion, but then I was like, well, he's probably going to predict me to predict that and me to go into Gar, so he's going to go for Psychic. So I just go straight for an Ice Beam and get a critical right off the bat. He's down to 69. because 3 heads, 69. Made it funny. He could explode right off the bat, and I'm like, well, if he explodes, I'm just going to go straight to Von Karma, and if he goes for Psychic anyway, I'll just kill him with an Ice Punch. But he goes straight for the Boom Bada Boom and hits nothing but air. Because Gengar is there to take that explosion for me, because he's an awesome blue ghosty, and he is my best friend. I've been using Gengar since 1st gen. Now, in comes Rocky Ball, because that's the coolest name on the block. It's what people call this thing nowadays. I'm just going to go straight for the Ice Punch, bring it down to 151. The Earthquake is worth it since Golem has such a high base attack. Plus the stab on the Earthquake, it's easily going to take my Gengar out. And my dumb self, oh, I was going to say I brought in Darien, but I don't. I actually fight with Machamp here. I kind of figured Machamp was a pretty good thing to threaten some things out. I do have my spikes, residual damage, rock slides, etc. So he brings in the Zapdos. Figured he's going to go straight to the Zapdos. Just go for the rock slide. You can see the good chunk of damage that it does. And unfortunately, we have yet to figure out if this thing is a rest talker. I do see the rest, but I have not seen the sleep talk. As you're going to see in the following turns, he just goes for nothing. So that leads me to believe that he's not any kind of rest talk variant, because I'm pretty sure he would not have wanted to waste any kind of turns. But he goes straight to dinner time again, you know, dinner. Because he figures Psychic will actually OHKO me, which it won't. It'll actually take me down really low. So I could have stayed in and just killed off Zam, but I decided to play it safe, go into a lot of heart, let him recover, etc., which he would have done anyway. Could have gone for Earthquake, whatever. I really want to get Toxic on this Zam, but he's got way too many things, and I see Submission. So I'm kind of curious. I guess that's for T-Tar. I don't really know how much damage that would do, per se, with its base. But you see there that he has the Miracle Berry, so he reflects my Toxic right back off with his stupid, insignificant, worthless berry. I'm just kidding. Miracle Berry is great, but Alakazam always have it. So I should have figured and thought that better. He's going to bring in Vaporeon here to step on some spikes. And my Blissey's at a really nice 585. I do not see a special wall on my opponent's team. I was kind of surprised. But to an extent, Vaporeon makes a good mixed wall. It can actually take things quite well. Much better than most people think. And I'm going to have to take in Lemore versus Dinner Time. And again, he's going to try to position himself in a way that Zapdos is going to face Lemore, because yes, he fears the Ice Beam, but at the same token of it, he's not really scared. So he goes straight for the Psychic, and it actually breaks my sub. I was kind of surprised that it broke. If I had Light Screen up, I could probably take 2 and then break, but I don't. So going to go back out to Lot of Heart as he goes for another Psychic, and he's not getting any special drops, so that's kind of cool. Oh, this is the longest battle I've ever narrated in my life, so you guys are just going to have to bear with me. The match was so long that other than cutting the clip itself short, Vegas let me do a 30-minute clip at decent speed. So doing the best I can. You guys just got to bear with me. I just go straight for the Ice Beam on the Vaporeon here. And my Happy Dance plus my Ice Beams plus my Spikes damage is just not enough to get this Blissey out of my hair. It's still here. I'm sorry, this Vaporeon. Blissey's mine. Duh. I'm actually commentating in a decent hour. It's like 9:20 my time. So once again, the Hax gods despise the soul of my Happy Dance and my pinkness of the Blissey, and I get paralyzed once again. In the long run, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, he has to step on spikes. I really need to get Toxic on this Zam, but between the paralysis and the Miracle Berry and all this other crap, it's really not happening in my favor. The only advantage I'm going to gain here is by toxicking things that I can force them to rest later. And that's pretty much the only advantage I'm going to gain here. I try to go for an Ice Beam on that turn, but as you can see, I'm once again fully para'd. And it does kind of suck because I would have loved to have hit him with an Ice Beam, but here comes Vaporeon down to 175, down to 118, down to 83. Again, Toxic and Spike's just doing so much work. Toxic is so great in 2nd gen. It is an entry hazard for you. It's great. And it makes a big difference. So he's going to take this opportunity to rest, and I'm just going to come in, screen, haze, do all that cool shenanigan stuff that Darian likes to do, all on the weekends, which I have not used in like a year. And it's going to enable me to continue this bout against like Zapdos and whatnot, because I know the Zapdos, if it's not carrying Rest Talk, it's definitely going to be carrying the Hidden Power. And it's got the Thunder Wave and the Thunderbolt. So I've seen his entire set. I know he's not a Rest Talker, but he does have HP Ice, which even with Light Screen, I don't want to play around with that. Just going to get my Lemurian again. And I think I brought it in kind of late. I mean, I know he's going to wake up at some point and whatnot and just do all these different shenanigans. I think he goes straight for the Thunder Wave, which is kind of interesting. But what you're going to see here is as he goes for the Thunder Wave, the Hax Gods are going to give him ultimate prowess, and I'm going to get fully parried instead of able to get off an Ice Beam. So that definitely mattered in the long run. It definitely made things harder for Lapras to deal with. But luckily, we have MasterCard for everything else, and we still have a lot of heart. And no matter how many cases this annoying country bumpkin comes into, she's continually a witness or part of the case or looking for a big scoop or something like that. You just can't get rid of this pink bitch. I mean, you just can't. She's just impossible to get rid of. So, again with a Thunder Wave, full para, you know, same old, same old. We've been through this. We're just going through the motions once again as we go through this. He switches into Dinner Time, and I finally just going to go for an Ice Beam, and it brings him down to 33 after Spikes. Had he been poisoned, Alakazam would have been dead. But that's fine. Just going to go for another Ice Beam, bring him down to 115. I really, to be honest, in retrospect of this battle, I would have loved to have seen the damage that Submission did to me. I'd like to see the damage ratio. But I digress. Finally, I get a poison on this stupid Alakazam aggravating spoon-holding nuisance that is aerating the field at this point. Finally, I have dealt with him, and Vaporeon will come in to Spikes and stuff and Ice Beams, and I really can't check this Vaporeon with anything but Lemur. So at some point, I'm going to need to heal Bell because, quite frankly, I would like to not be paralyzed to win the upper hand here. And once again, he tried to get the upper hand, predicting my switch to Lapras, predicting to beat his Vaporeon. He goes back to Zapdos again. Putting the pressure with Zapdos was pretty much his entire goal when fighting Lapras this last time. And whatnot. So, I guess he wants to try to sort of maybe damage with Thunderbolt just a little bit. Enough to maybe, I don't know. I really want him to explode with Golem. But at the same token, I really don't want to lose my Blissey. So at some point in this battle, I'm going to have to sack something. And I swear we stayed 4-4 for probably 10 to 15 minutes, just going through the motions, playing back and forth between Toxics and Ice Beams and Thunderbolts and all these different type of moves that we were going through. Just going through everything we're going through. And here comes Vaporeon, Spikes damage, Ice Beam damage. I feel like, you know, the more you watch this clip, it's going to be like implanted in your brain that every time you watch a Pokemon battle from me, you're going to remember this stupid pink special wall and this Vaporeon and this Zapdos, and it's just going to continue to haunt you. So finally I get an upper play here, and I get an Ice Beam off on this Zapdos and bring it to 211. And at some point he is going to have to rest. I was kind of surprised he didn't growth pass to this thing earlier. I still have Blissey to check it, but at the same token, I really don't want to be fighting a +4 or 5 Zapdos. It's just not something I want to be doing. So finally, as he goes to 189, I know at some point he's going to want to rest, and when he does, I plan on getting Lemur in to try to Ice Beam at least in theory. But you can see all of his darkened Pokeballs. I think every Pokemon on his team is pretty much poisoned or statused, bar one. But most of them have rest, so, you know, whatever. Just going to go for one more Ice Beam, bring him down to 257 after leftovers, and I can easily get more in here. I was kind of surprised. He actually, I think it's right here. I think he wants to show me that he ain't scared of... Oh, never mind. We're like way ahead of ourselves here. I've never commentated 30-minute battles, so you know, that's okay though. Daryan is going to be facing this down, and he makes a double switch into Rocky Ball. And I'm kind of surprised I stayed in here to go for Body Slam. I was really surprised. I think it would have been much safer, much wiser to get out because Explosion is pretty obvious. But luckily, I just take Rock Slide, and I can't really take another one. So at this point, I just go for another Body Slam. I paralyze it. He gets the full para. And I figure now he's pretty much at the point that Golem is almost useless. So since Golem is almost useless, he's going to explode. Now, I could let him explode on Daryan, but he's my only phaser, and it would leave his Vaporeon to Growth Pass at its free contentions and wills and what have you to whatever else on his team that he so decided to Baton Pass to, or Growth Pass to, and or wreck my face with. So, I just decide Objection is the best thing for him to blow up on. He's easily going to take it out. No big deal. And now I think we have a 3-3 game. I wasn't kidding, like 8 to 10 to 15 minutes of a 4-4 game. So now we have Vaporeon facing down Daryan, and Daryan has the upper hand because I can haze things off and take Surf for days and hours and minutes. 9 hours, 9 days, 9 persons, whatever. But I don't really like the matchup. Go back to Lot of Heart. He switches. He goes to dinner time again. And again, being toxic, having spikes damage, and me having my light screen up, which just fell, I almost wonder what this thing is going to do to me, if it's going to really try to submission me. But he goes straight to his Vaporeon. I'm paralyzed anyway, so it does not matter. And I'm kind of getting a little nervous here because potentially this Vaporeon can set up on me. And I was like, okay, it's going to sleep. Cool. I'll bring in Lamore, I'll start firing Thunders, everything will be hunky-dory, spory-bory. But not going to quite happen that way. Vaporeon is not scarred of my Lapras, as it carries a Growth and a Stab Surf of its own, and it's just going to start growthing up, because I go for the first Thunder, I bring it to 179, and quite frankly, I was kind of surprised here that he just didn't Growth Pass into whatever. I was kind of surprised the way he handled it because I really want him to Growth Pass into Zapdos so I can kill his Zapdos with an Ice Beam. But, again, not going to happen. I finally bring his Vaporeon to its range of 62. And, of course, it has Rest because why wouldn't it? It's a Vaporeon. High HP, 463 HP, whatnot, and it actually Baton Pass instead of Rest. And I believe he does Baton Pass here. He's got a +2 special attack. I believe he goes to Dinner Time because Dinner Time is the only thing that can really take an Ice Beam from this, but he just goes to Zapdos. So I bring Zapdos down to 70. And I don't really understand that play because yes, he has the special attack bonus, but I'm behind a substitute, so I can just continue to fire off Ice Beams or whatever else that I want to. But Vaporeon goes down to 5, and my Thunder misses. I could have had Vaporeon out of this game so much sooner, and it's going to be able to rest. I would have loved going for just Surf or Ice Beam. It would have been a safer, more ideal play, but since I'm Vec and I make those kind of decisions, that's not how it went down. How it went down is this thing is going to try and fight me and whatnot. I'm going to try and continue to fight this thing with Thunder and Ice Beam. I've got to watch my power points. I also don't want Zapdos to come in because if it comes in, it can rest. I'll kill it otherwise, but I don't really want it to come in. So I'm looking for the Hax gods and goddesses and queens of all the Hax worlds to bring me a freeze that I'm not going to get. So finally, after a little bit of that, I'm like, well, we're just going to go straight back to the offensive, going to continue to go for these Thunders. I feel like, for the most part, Thunder is a good move. But I'm continuing Ice Beaming here. I think I just want to get it in a range that a couple Thunders will do the trick. But after +3, he gets a crit Surf. I'm glad that missed, because that would have done a ton of damage. Looking at the next Surf that he throws at me, you'll see that it doesn't do as much. A crit would have nearly killed me. It probably would have two-shot me. But we don't have to consider that possibility. So the second one brings me down to 198. And I missed 2 Thunders in a row. If I could paralyze this thing where it couldn't rest right off the bat and I could just take it down with another Thunder, that would be awesome. I think he's kind of trying to ploy me out to see what kind of decision I'm going to make. And I finally decide to go straight to Bliss. Again, I have my phaser, but I'm not really convinced. And that's fine. So Surf away, go ahead, just going to heal Bell up. This particular situation makes me want to run a Psych Up Blissey, like really bad, because I could just wreck with Bolt Beam. But I didn't do that. So just going to go for the Soft Boiled. I can take this all day. I kind of want to put the pressure on this Vaporeon, and to do so, I need to get a Toxic status on it. Yes, it's going to continue to growth and whatnot, but at least it cannot one-shot me with anything that it has. And I can just Soft Boiled off the damage, and that'll be great. But this one brings me down to 275. But my Soft Boiled is going to put me back up to 675 after leftovers. And I think I was talking to him on Skype at this point and after the battle. And my Sub Lapras and my Blissey are probably my 2 hardest to take down. Just because I guess I juggle them well. I don't know. Finally, in comes Dinner Time once again to take Poison and Spikes down to 115. Ice Beam again down to 41. And this thing also still is not dead. I want this thing dead. Because it's still a 3-3. I think we spent longer at a 3-3 game than we did a 4-4 game. So, bring in Darien once again. And I'm looking at the damage ratio. I'm saying, okay, Body Slam and Poison should be enough to take it out. I am so glad I did not go for the Light Screen. I can easily take this thing out with a Body Slam, and Dinner Time goes down finally. There goes Dinner Time. So now we have a 3-2 game in Vex's favor with a Vaporeon and a Zapdos. But we are not out of the woods yet. Lapras is at an HP level that I really don't want it to be at. So I'm just going to let him Surf away, bring me down to 57. And I could have rested here, but I chose not to. I just decided to put up the Light Screen. I figured that was going to be much more effective in the long run. And I swapped to Lapras because I want to get the leftovers for free over and over again and get my HP back up to a pretty substantial amount. As I just decided to go for an Ice Beam, predicting his Zapdos to switch in, predicting me to go for Substitute so he could rest. And I'm just going to sub again because, again, this Vaporeon wants to have round 2 versus my Lapras, which is perfectly cool by me. Just going to go for a Thunder, get a crit, go all the way down to 91, 119 after leftovers. And unfortunately, this will be a perfect opportunity for him to rest. And I'm looking at this as, well, okay, I need to 3-shot this thing with Thunder and finish it off. That is my plan. I can 3-shot it and end it. So there's 1. Here comes number 2. Da-boom. And I'm looking at it, 160 HP. I can easily finish this off, maybe. And here comes another Thunder, and Vaporeon finally goes down, bringing us to a 3-1. I'm behind a Substitute, and you have 70 HP. Whether you rest or not is whatever. But he actually is not going to wake up this turn, and that is going to seal the deal with a Stab, super effective Ice Beam, bringing us to a 3-0 game with Mark Williams. Not going to be any outro or anything this time. If I do choose to do it, it'll be very short, just because the battle has already gone so long. I do appreciate you guys sticking with me through it. I know it's been the longest battle I've ever posted. But until next time, rate, comment, sub, thumbs up, objection, and find the computer room. And thank you. Leave props for the intro. Once again, 30-minute battle. I did the best I could to keep you guys entertained at 9:36 at night with about the longest battle I've ever had, but an awesome battle versus Mark Williams. If I do get his channel, I'll leave it in the description. Until next time, check you guys later.